Hello, hello, welcome, please come in. It's time to resume our shopping-only runs in this, Final Fantasy IX. And much like 7 before it, we are going to have to play a bit fast and loose with the rules right out the gate. Because unfortunately, while Vivi can access shops very briefly, only the item shop is actually open at the start of the game. That means nothing actually that usable is purchasable. I mean, healing items could be useful, but bluntly, you don't actually start with enough money to buy as many items as you would need to get through the early sections of the game anyway. And because this item shop is the last shop you can access in the game until much later, okay. In the interest of not wasting time talking about the areas of the game where the challenge hasn't really properly started, because it kind of can't, we're gonna skip ahead to the first actual point in the game where a proper series of shops appear, and that, kind of surprisingly, is all the way in Dali. So no forest, no ice cave, we're skipping all that. I forgot how long you sometimes go in these games between shops. Hopefully that doesn't become a problem later. Anyway, in Dali, I can sell all the random items I've picked up along the way, buy a bunch of new gear, and then sell all the old gear. Oh, I also need some consumables for when Dagger isn't in the party. And that means the challenge has properly started. So from this point forward, I will only be able to use consumables or equip items that were purchased for gil or similar currencies. And I'm real glad this frontier town has a full shop, because otherwise this starting area would be a real mess. So, first on the agenda is to head below Dali, because Vivi has been captured, and Zidane and Dagger need to rescue him. Meanwhile, Steiner is off doing something. Reunited, the party is interrupted by a black waltz, and this is a big opportunity to highlight stealing. Which is to say, how I won't be doing it, because I can't. And that makes playing this game way less annoying. Stupid black waltz, I don't even care about your dumb item wasting my time. Unlike FF7, I don't have a choice to not pick up items dropped in combat, and enemies in this game drop a lot of items. That's going to be annoying. Before boarding the ship, I'm going to sell some gear and purchase a bunch of wrists. I'll be able to use these later to make a lot of money. Ideally, I'd grind up gil to buy 99 of them, but I don't want to. So we're off on the cargo ship towards Lindblum. But before that, it's time for another quick Black Waltz fight. And this fight is not my favorite, mostly because Dagger is busy, so I have no healing magic. Vivi is tranced, and Steiner's sword magic is pretty strong. At least I bought some potions in Dali, but wow, those potions are weak. At least bosses in this game mostly don't have very much health. This gets me to Lindblum, and here, after some story-heavy sequences, I unlock even more shops. My first destination is the weapon shop. I need to sell a tent to get started, but then I can buy a steepled hat. This can be combined with a wrist in the nearby synthesis shop to make a cotton robe, which then sells for a profit. I didn't take the time to farm 99 wrists in Dali, so I am a bit limited, but it is still a pretty big money increase. Too bad there won't be a way to do this trick infinitely for a while. But with all that money, I can stock up on a bunch of new gear, new weapons, and restock on some very important consumables. I will be limited in my synthesis by money and by lacking access to non-purchasable goods, but this is still a pretty big boon for the party. Next on the to-do list is the Festival of the Hunt. Now, normally the best thing to do here is let Freya win to get the Coral Ring, however, I can't use that. So instead I need to actually try to win with Zidane, because Zidane wants cold hard cash, and so do I. Good thing my new ogre weapon is very strong and can one- or two-shot any enemies in the festival. And while Freya does join for the Zagnol fight, she won't deal the killing blow, at least in some versions. I actually don't know if that applies to the PC release. Zidane's victory gets me 5,000 gil, which is very useful, and then the party is drugged so Dagger can bail, and we can go off to head towards Burmecia. But first, it's time to stop off to recruit Quina. Having another frontline attacker is just too useful to pass up. I'm also glad that there is a convenient item shop down here, so I don't have to run all the way back up to the market district for healing. Oh, while I'm in the area, I should also grab some blue magic for Quina to actually do blue magic. These are not equipped or consumed, so they are fair game for this run. At least for the comparatively brief time I will actually be using Quina. Okay, now that Quina is in the party and has some blue magic to actually use, it's time to properly head into Gizmaluke's Grotto. Ring some bells, fight some random black mage enemies, learn some new abilities, and it's time for the next boss. I do love not having to talk about optional content because I didn't do it. Maybe this FF9 video will actually be a reasonable length. Technically, the bells needed to get through this area are consumables I didn't purchase, but they're also key items, so we'll have to pretend they aren't. Hello, Gizmaluke, what's up with you? Okay, good news is my damage is okay. Bad news is my healing is not. Seriously, why do potions only heal 150 health? Especially in sections of the game where you normally wouldn't even have access to other healing. Although you may have normally found some high potions by now. Hard to say, since if I did find any from monster drops, I sold them. Oof, okay, that is Zidane down, and the party is now at very low health. Yeah, this fight is not looking like it's gonna go super great. Oh, Okay, that's a win. A very close win, but a win regardless, and I will take it. These fights are going to be a problem until I get a white mage back in the party. Over to Dagger and Steiner on the way to Alexandria. And nothing relevant happens, so it's back to the main party to reach Burmecia proper. I can't wait to get some better magic for Vivi. Tier 1 magic just is not cutting it. At least Zidane is dealing good enough damage still. It helps that I won't need to learn most of Zidane's abilities because they are worthless in this challenge. It also sucks that the game gives you a Mithril Spear and a Thunder Rod, neither of which I can use. At least I can buy Stiltskin stock. This is the only ether I'll have for a very long time. It also helps that the final boss of Burmecia is Beatrix, and therefore cannot actually be beaten, so who cares how well outfitted I am. And that is actually the end of Disc 1, in a very reasonable amount of time. So now it's back over to Steiner and Dagger for actually interesting things to happen. And first on the list is to buy some better weapons and armor, for more skill access rather than anything else. I also sold the ether I bought 5 minutes ago. Am I stupid, or did I need more gil? You decide. I mean, it was definitely the former. Marcus also gets to serve as temporary thief as I fight Black Waltz again. Fortunately, this fight is completely unlosable. Let's go ahead and cast Shell to reduce the damage Steiner takes. Oh wait, that's right, buff spells in this game are completely worthless because they bork their duration so badly they are practically unusable. I am also going to take a brief detour back to Dolly to buy some wrists. Maybe I should grind up gil to buy a bunch of these for synthesis. Nah, this is boring, and I keep getting interrupted by friendly monsters, who I can't satisfy because I can't buy ore. So goodbye, it's over to Treno, and wow, the shops here are stacked. There isn't anything too exciting for Steiner or Dagger, but there are so many good items to buy for the other party members. And they won't reach a shop for a while, okay. Well, after taking a boat to steal a super soft and then chatting with Dr. Todd, I think it's time to do some grinding. Steiner and Dagger are both pretty underleveled, and I really should get a bunch more gil for purchasing equipment. Hold, please. A frankly absurd amount of grinding done, and it's finally time to take a ride to Alexandria. Naturally, there is a boss between me and my destination. Huh, guess I forgot to heal between grinding and reaching the fight, because Marcus started the fight dead. Not ideal. But also not too bad. Dagger has life magic now and can get him back up. Okay, Marcus, I'm giving up on you. This is the Steiner and Dagger show now. Steiner hits pretty hard, though he is slowed. Okay, now everyone is slowed. Oh, well, that was easy. That gil grinding might have been a bit too aggressive, because that was really easy with all the leveling I did incidentally. Anyway, back to the main party, and I need to sort out a lot of nonsense. First up, Vivi can start learning Tier 2 magic, which is very exciting. Freya could learn Race's Wind, but I think I should learn Dragon Slayer first. Though in retrospect, when is she going to be fighting any dragons? Not for a while, right? So yeah, that's probably a mistake, but no time to dwell on that now. It's time to head up Clara's trunk, and here is the next and absolutely most important blue magic for Quina to learn. White Wind, because that is the best healing I am going to have access to for a decent amount of time. It may take a few zoo fights to get it done, though. They are actually the wrong amount of durable to get completely wrecked by Blizzara. Okay, there we go. White Wind. That should be very useful. Hello, Clara. Nothing bad is going to happen here, surely. Also, where is the shop? I know there's a shop here somewhere. Oh, you are the shop. Interesting. And some decent new stuff to buy. Now, to figure out the story trigger to get things to advance. Ah, there we go. The Antlion, and I am not worried. Vivi has Tier 2 magic, which deals a lot of damage. Freya and Zidane have pretty good attacks themselves. And while Quina's attacks are unreliable, they can use White Wind for very good healing. That is the only thing they will be doing, though. And really the only thing they need to do. And that is Antlion down. Then that tragedy I said wasn't going to happen starts to happen, with Alexandrian troops raiding the town. The party trying and failing to stop them, and then another fight against Beatrix in which I cannot win. At least I don't have to try and steal a 1% steal rate item this time. This is much less miserable. With that all done, it's time to rejoin Steiner and Marcus hanging in a swinging cage. The guards really should have caught the cage swinging at some point, right? But that does see the pair escape, and we reunite with the rest of the party. And we've managed to lose Quina, our only healer. Fantastic. Steiner is pretty good at least. Now it's time to play Can Zeph Operate Doors? And the answer is yes. Eventually, but wow does it take way longer than it has any right to. Okay, next boss time, the twins. What are their mechanics again? It probably doesn't matter, I'll just attack and wreck them before it becomes an issue. Ooh, that was a lot of damage. Oh, right, you have to attack the one that has been given power to neutralize the attack, and otherwise they do literally nothing. Okay, yeah, that's very easy, I just didn't remember it. I think I just usually forget that this boss exists. And Dagger has been rescued, so it's time to bail, but not before another Beatrix fight. As usual, I cannot win this fight by any means, I really just need to survive. And wow, does Beatrix not make that easy. Her damage is really good, and my healing is still limited to basic potions. It does not help that her attacks are strong enough that she could one-shot anyone in the party. It is weird that even though I canonically lose this fight, I do actually have to survive long enough to lose it properly. At least the PC release has autosaves. I really should have bought more Phoenix Downs than I did. One is fewer than I'd like. There we go, party wins in that we lose, but with correct timing, and Beatrix realizes, yes, they are in fact the bad guys. And now we get to control her and Freya. And they are both very strong. And while the rest of the party is not as strong, I finally have a white mage back in the party. Healing, hooray. Wow, I'm getting sick of writing down all the items drops so I remember to sell them. Definitely going to be a point against FF9 in the ranking video, I can tell you that. Anyway, the party has escaped and it's time to fight the big snake again. This fight is even easier than last time because Vivi is here, and Vivi has big spells. Or that would be the case if I hadn't wasted all my MP attacking the snake when it was coiled up. Whoops. Oh well, Zidane deals good enough damage and Dagger can easily keep the party healed. Which is, to be fair, very easy because the boss basically never attacks. Which is certainly an interesting boss design. And we have crashed into Pinnacle Rock. Ramo wants us to solve his puzzle, but I don't want to, because the item he will give me wouldn't be purchased, so it's garbage. Let's just bail and watch a city be destroyed. Back in Lindblom, I chat with Sid, and it's time to do a bit more shopping. Mostly to sell random items I picked up, but there are also some new weapons and a surprising number of new accessories as well. These should be useful. Fortunately for us, Quina is right where we first found them and is no worse for wear. Quail also tells us how to reach a path to the outer continent, which has a convenient chariot chase sequence for some reason. Not really sure what that's about, but it does lead into the next boss fight against Lani. Normally this fight can be kind of annoying because Lani has a lot of items to steal that are quite good. When that is no longer a concern, turns out you can kinda just blast her. Oh, she does actually deal a lot of damage, huh? That's less than ideal. At least I have two characters capable of healing. It would probably help if I had Kira, but I don't actually need it. Okay, Stiltskin has some new items to purchase. Will I remember not to sell them? Who knows, but at least then it's just flipping too many switches and running around. And the fresh air of the outer continent. Huzzah! Lally-ho, townsfolk, do you have anything good to sell me? Ooh, yes is the answer to that question. Exciting. I do wish I had, well, any more money. I wonder if the enemies around here give decent kill. I mean, it's not exciting, but it is something. I never have been a big fan of the ability learning mechanic in FF9, but I wonder how much of that comes down to the purchase UI not having that info visible in a useful way. Maybe some quality of life stuff would make the system more palatable. Sorry, talking about that because I'm grinding for money and I'm bored. Why did I not pause the recording for this section? How much of this did I expect to leave in? Anyway, grinding done, items purchased, and it's over to the forest to solve an owl puzzle, which is very much a puzzle in big air quotes. This gets me to the Black Mage Village, where everyone is adorable. There are also even more shops here, and I don't have nearly as much money as I'd like. That's gonna be a problem. Am I really about to start another recording with a long on-screen grinding session? Made even more annoying by the fact that I keep getting interrupted by friendly monsters? No wonder FF9 recordings take so long. But there, I bought the new gear, hooray. Let's finally move on. Back in Condapete, it's time to chase after Eiko, who has now doubled my number of white mages, just in time for a fight where white mages are even more useful than normal. Oh, thank you, Stiltskin, for selling me a Phoenix Pinion. That gives me an actual summon for once. Not, the best summon, but a summon. Next up is this boy. Dagger's job in this fight is to keep the entire party under the float status so I don't get wrecked by Earthquake. Meanwhile, Zidane and Vivi need to deal as much damage as quickly as possible while Eiko heals. You can stop Kiraga with silence, but it's really not necessary to do so. And so I won't. Over to Madain Sari, and it's time to cook or something. I'm skipping all of this because nothing challenge relevant happens here, so who cares? Oh, neat, there's a shop in Madain Sari. Thank you, Little Moogle, for selling some decent equipment and letting me stock up on consumables. But with Eiko in tow, it's time to run over to the Ipha tree, because Eiko can break the seal and hand me some garbage. The enemies here are not super dangerous, because I can just use a soft to one-shot them or use healing magic. Although I don't actually have that many softs. This isn't normally a problem because the enemies drop softs, but that could be a problem here. Let's just assume I'm gonna be able to kill them fast enough. On this giant harp thing, I guess, it's time for another boss. Are any of the characters' levels a multiple of 5? No. Okay, that is good. Anyway, have some life. Boss dead. Gotta love a boss that can be one-shot with healing magic. Back to Madainsari, where, Eiko has been captured by Lani, who then gets replaced with Amarant for the boss fight, which Zidane must do alone. Bad news, my healing, it bad. Good news, my damage, it real good. So I mostly just shred through Amarant's health before it becomes a problem. Huzzah! Amarant has joined the party, which is very good because Amarant has a lot of very useful abilities. Anyway, time to shop and sell all of the random items I picked up at the Epha tree. Then sell all of the equipment Amarant joined with and replace them with different purchased gear. And now I can head right back to the Epha tree again to deal with Kuja. And by deal with, I mean get lectured at by, then run for a bit from even more enemies that are very easily killable with healing magic, and then nothing goes well and the Alexandrian military gets completely wrecked. Back in Alexandria, I need to restock on consumables. Ooh, remedies. The shops here also sell a lot of shiny new items. Money is just gonna be a problem this entire game, isn't it? So many nice things. Eventually, maybe affording things will stop being such a pain. Thanks for the summoning crystals that I can sell. Hey, the party is united for the first time. Kind of. And it's back to Trey now. The shops here also sell a bunch of new gear. I'm not actually sure if it's different gear, but it is gear I don't have. I'll worry about that later. For now, I just need to do the stupid card tournament, which requires beating 2 matches in a row, which takes way more attempts than I had expected. Wow, does the card game in FF9 suck. Like, really badly. Anyway, it then doesn't matter whether I win or lose in the final match, so of course, I win a perfect game. Dagger gives bad instructions to her troops, which is funny, and now Steiner and Beatrix get to slaughter more of the Mastodons. No, Google, I did not mean to say Mastodons, I meant Mastodons. Thank you. And the rest of the party is here to help save Alexandria. First up, it's time to fight an optional boss. Wait, why am I fighting this boss? What possible benefit could this have? Even if I were strong enough to win this fight, which I demonstrably am not, this can't have anything that is valuable to me. Anyway, skipping that, and Alexandria gets destroyed, and it's back to Lindblom, where Dagger has lost her voice. Pursuing Kuja means I need a boat, and thankfully Sid has a boat for me to borrow, just as soon as I gather ingredients to turn him from an Oglop into a toad. Which then meant doing a lot of grinding on the northern continent, because that's kind of the best place to get Gil at this point. Humorously, it is normally possible to do the cotton robe synthesis trick infinitely. However, that requires a mountain chocobo, which I can't acquire, so grinding will have to do. Anyway, back to the Black Mage Village, where all the villagers have bailed, so I need to wander into quicksand, get captured, and make up a party to head to Ulvert. I think I'll bring Quina and leave Amarant behind. I won't be able to use blue magic, but that leaves Amarant, so I have some MP restoration and physical bulk. Oh, the shop here sells consumables. Neat. Anyway, over to Ulvert. Oh, there's actually a shop here. Huh, because it's been a while since I had to think about shopping in FF9. There's a lot of nice stuff here, too. I think that means more grinding, right? Definitely more grinding. Huh, the enemies here give a surprising amount of gil. Okay, maybe this won't be a miserable experience. Hold please while I do some grinding, though less than I expected. Anyway, boss time, Arc. Zidane is dealing really big hits with basic attacks and counterattacking. Freya, as ever, is in charge of healing via Race's Wind, and Steiner can make the boss even more vulnerable thanks to Armor Break. It is a bit of a shame that my on-demand healing is pretty limited, but at least I have high potions and Quina has White Wind, for what limited good that does. This fight is honestly still pretty easy. Regen's duration is short, but being able to apply it to... Oh, this boss inflicts Confuse! That could be... Never mind. Back to the rest of the party in Kuja's headquarters. First, I have to sneak past this stupid hedgehog. Should this be easy? Yes. Does it still take like 8 tries? Also yes. Impatient remains my biggest obstacle. Anyway, that frees the party, which is what I needed, and wow, do I need to sort out a lot of equipment here. I think I also forgot to mention that Eiko has auto-regen, which is easily one of the strongest abilities in the game. Too bad it's on a flute, so no one else has it, but soon. Hopefully. In the Desert Palace, I need to trigger a bunch of glowing orbs to weaken the boss at the end. Each of these gives a really good piece of equipment, which sucks, because I can't use them. At least they should be hopefully good for selling. And into the boss itself, it has been weakened thanks to the running around, which is nice, and the strategy for this fight is going to revolve around casting Reflect on the party to reflect Vivi's spells back at the boss. Now, if only the duration of Reflect were long enough to actually apply Reflect to the entire party. But that is fully not the case. However, the Reflect strategy is necessary because this boss casts Reflect on itself, and Vivi is really the only one who could deal decent damage in this fight. Though admittedly, the damage is not actually that good. At least Amarant is here. Chakra restores MP and is really important. How much damage does Phoenix deal? Very little. Good to know. So, yeah. Aiko and Dagger are going to stay on healing and buffing. Okay, there we go. Boss beaten, and the party is back together, and it's over to Estogaza, which now has a shop, which it didn't before. So I can sell a bunch of items for money, then... Wow, just so many good shop items, and I have no cash. Rough. I would really like to have all these items. And honestly, I'm not even going to bother bringing a healer. Aiko has been captured, Dagger fails her spells half the time at this point in the game, and White Wind just isn't strong enough. I'm choosing to believe that I will just be able to beat up enemies fast enough that it ends up not being an issue. And honestly, it is mostly working. Even the dragons here are a lot less dangerous than usual. It does help that Amarant can make them weak to an element with Curse, and Vivi can capitalize on it with tier 3 spells. Thank you, Octagon Rod. You are appreciated. Also, why are there so many Moogles down here? Is it just because they assumed people would die a lot and didn't want this dungeon to be miserable? Very strange. Anyway, dungeon beaten, fairly easily. And it's next boss time, the twins, but no longer twins. I lose Vivi for this fight, which sucks, but I do get Aiko back, which is nice. The real annoying thing is that the boss can inflict a lot of status effects, most significant being Stop, which sucks, and Virus, which means I will not be getting any rewards from this fight. You can cure Virus, but the boss inflicts it so fast it just isn't worth doing. At least Adon can deal pretty good damage, though it's still not as good as I'd prefer. And there we go. Boss down, now the party is properly reunited. Dagger can also cast spells again, though she will not be rejoining the party. And I get my airship, huzzah! Now, finally, I can actually do proper cotton rope tricks. I have free, unfettered access to both Dolly for wrists and, Black Mage Village. Okay, for steepled hats. Combined to make cotton robes, sell for infinite money. So hold please, I need to once more defeat capitalism. Okay, capitalism has been slain, and I have purchased a decent stock of everything available at this point in the game, including synthesis items. And it's into Ipsen's castle. Here, weapon attacks are inverted in power, so I do need to equip the weakest weapons I can find, but good news, there is a shop right inside the castle. And the shop also sells golden hairpins, which unlock auto regen for the entire party. So now, healing is honestly way less of a concern than it used to be. As worthless as buffing spells are, buffs in general are incredible. And let's see how that new power stands up to the next boss, Taharka. First off, my damage is pretty good, though most of that comes down to Vivi casting Firaga. The boss can deal decent damage in return, but it doesn't super matter. Regen continues to heal while animations play, and because of how slow the combat in this game is, I can just let Regen fully heal the party. Vivi nearly solos the boss by himself. Okay, that's some good damage, and auto regen kind of removes the challenge for most bosses in the game. Most, we'll get to it. Outside, I need to take a brief detour back into the castle to rescue Amarant, who's been stupid, and now I can proceed to the next actual plot beat, which is dropping off party members at each of the 4 elemental shrines around the world. And that leaves Quina and Zidane to face down the Earth Fiend. Let's give Mighty Guard a shot. Honestly, it probably won't last long enough to be useful, but it can't hurt. From there, I really just need to attack. Zidane is equipped to absorb Earth damage, and given how often the Earth Fiend likes to cast Earthquake, this fight is pretty easy to win, even if I didn't end the fight with Trance. And with that, the path towards Terra has been opened, and given that I have already purchased all the things I can purchase on Gaia, let's jump in. Did I bring enough money? That's actually a really good question. Hopefully. Over to Brenball, where Zidane bails on the party, but fortunately I still get to do some shopping. And yeah, I sure didn't bring as much money as I should have. That should be okay. I went a little overboard with backstock so I can sell some extra weapons to afford the new gear. Aiko and crew chase after Zidane, who is having a bit of an existential crisis, and the only way to break him out is through violence, side by side with some friends. These fights prove to be pretty easy, except the last one. I have Dagger for healing, but I also haven't really used her at this point in the game. I'm not even sure if she has any equipment on. So, while she can heal, she can also die really easily. And while Zidane can absorb Earth Elemental attacks, that's not actually a guarantee of anything. So, let's just abuse the autosaves a bit, shall we? Until I get particularly lucky with Earth attacks. There we go, easy. Now, let's get my proper party back together, and this Moogle is also a shop. I think all of this is the same as in Brent Ball, but good to have a backup shop. Oh, actually no, I think this stuff is new. Or I just didn't buy it before? Not sure. Doesn't matter. Going to buy it now, because good. And that means all I need to do for the rest of this zone is solve some stupid puzzles, and it's time for the final bosses of Terra. And that starts off with the Nova Dragon, which deals unimpressive damage. That's probably not even enough to outpace regen. I also have Might to buff Freya's attack power. Oh, right, Twister. I really need to get Eiko's level caught up. Anyway, get Eiko brought back up, and oh, that's the boss. Okay, that was easy. Next on the chopping block is Garland himself. Strong opener in the form of Flare, though not actually that strong. And my damage is so far looking pretty good. 2 to 4,000 with every attack. Meanwhile, Eiko just gets to hang out healing. And when my MP gets low, White Draw with Freya restores a stupid amount of MP. Seriously, Freya is basically a magic battery for the rest of the party. And there's no reason not to take a minute to cast Might around that healing either, just for some extra damage. So, Garland is a pretty easy fight. In theory, it would be about resource management, but all my resources have been thoroughly resourced, and that is Garland done. And now it's time for the actual final fight of Terra, Kuja. And this fight is not dissimilar to Garland, which would certainly annoy him. I came into this fight with less MP than I'd prefer, so I do need to start by spamming White Draw, but that's a minor inconvenience, not an actual problem. Okay, MP stocked up, I can now have Freya continue to contribute to damage, which is nice, because she can deal 3,000 damage per jump. Eiko, can you stop dying, please? I know it's because you're 12 levels lower than the rest of the party, but still, it's very frustrating. And that is Kuja down. Brand Ball is destroyed, the party steals an airship and flees back to Gaia, and immediately head back to the Black Mage Village to drop off the genomes. And that means it's one last bout of synthesis to complete all the endgame synthesis that just got unlocked. And with all the money and goods acquired I could possibly want, it's time to head to the Epha tree for the endgame boss rush. And in good old Final Fantasy tradition, it's a long one. First boss on the list is another big dragon, and my damage is quite good. Eiko is still really fragile, huh? At least I have basically infinite Phoenix Downs, and auto regen is still covering for all the healing I could possibly need. Okay, yeah, that is annoying. Eiko cannot survive a single casting of Tidal Wave, which is really inconvenient. It really makes a difference in these fights, because if the boss doubles up on a target, and I don't heal, because a character is dead for example, someone will die. Yeah, this is not going great. I'm just gonna stop trying to heal and instead see if Vivi and Freya can just end the fight themselves. And honestly, they aren't doing a terrible job. Obviously my damage would be better with more characters, but Freya is hitting quite hard with Dragon Slayer boosted attacks. And wow, that was victory. Huh, it really shouldn't have been. And while the random encounters here are no joke, they also aren't difficult enough to justify talking about, so let's just skip straight to the bosses. First boss on that list is Maliris. Going into the fight, I equip Body Temperature to bypass Mustard Bomb. Then Eiko can cast Might on Freya and Zidane to boost their already good physical damage to even greater heights. Oh, I did forget this boss can cast Reflect. That is less than ideal. It doesn't do anything to most of my damage dealers, but it does impact Vivi. Oh, actually, how good is Meteor? Okay, that bypasses Reflect and deals quite good damage. It doesn't always work, and even when it does, the damage is pretty unreliable, but given that the alternative is 0 damage per turn, it is an improvement. Oh yeah, I forgot Maliris has a Desperation attack. Didn't really do anything, but, you know, she tried. Time to head into the Tiamat fight, and oh, that's a bad start. Okay, so in addition to Body Temp to negate against Hot, I need something to deal with Wind Elemental damage, otherwise that is not going to work at all. What do I have? Okay, Coronet should do. Freya doesn't really have anything. Let's just have it with Gold Choker. Okay, Tiamat, let's try this again. Twister now deals no damage. Let's go. Tiamat is also weak to ice attacks, so no need to use Meteor. Blizzaga just deals a lot of damage. Freya can also deal good damage, but she also gets to serve as an MP battery. And of course, Tiamat's most annoying thing to do is cast Float and then Snort, which means using Dispel to negate Float, because no thank you. Okay, there we go. Properly set up, that fight is basically very, very easy. Who would have thought? Alright, who is up next? Alright, Hades! Defeating Hades unlocks a secret synthesis shop in the game. Will I actually be able to synthesize anything useful here? No idea, but I am going to try and find out. Hades starts by immediately killing half my party, which is not a great start. Partially good news is that I am immune to the worst status effects the boss can inflict, which does help. Okay, sir, I'm gonna have to ask you to stop cleaving through the entire party, This might be more difficult than I expected. It has been a long time since I fought Hades. Let me look at my equipment. Maybe switching some gear around will make this more doable? The problem is I need to mitigate both shadow damage to survive Doomsday, and Hades' pretty strong physical attacks. Oh, I could also use Long Reach on Zidane to keep him in the back row? Let's try that. Thank you, Hades, for starting with a nothing attack. There we go. The equipment and row swaps means everyone survives cleave, which is great. Now I can focus more on keeping everyone topped off with Curaga, while the party hits as hard as they possibly can, and yep, that was a much easier fight the second time. He never even got to cast Doomsday. Now, let's see what the synthesis shop gives me. I can't make any of these? Ooh, ethers. I can buy the materials for that. Well, it looks like my MP problems I have already solved may be solved. Very shiny. Anyway, on to the next proper boss, Kraken, after I set up everyone with water elemental resistant equipment and some status immunity abilities. Kraken does have some annoying tentacles on either side that do stuff, I guess. Honestly, nothing in this fight is worth talking about. Zidane is dealing 7,000 damage per hit, Vivi is hitting pretty hard with Thundaga, the boss is dead, we can move on. And that means one more Fiend. Big thing here, setting up Locomotion for stop and then absorbing Earth, which thankfully the Gaia gear can very much cover. This fight still isn't free because Lich can just cast Death to be a troll, but otherwise Lich doesn't really have anything frightening. It also helps that Zidane's various Slayer abilities are resulting in a final damage numbers of 8 to 9,000. This is a very silly fight that can really only go bad if I get supremely unlucky with Death and Doom effects, and I do not even come close to that being a problem. And that is the fourth Fiend down. And that means it's basically over. 3 more fights to go. Though they are the hardest fights in the game, and first on the list is Death Guys, who loves to open full tilt with Meteor, killing half my party. Fortunately, it notably does not kill Aiko, who has full life, which keeps this fight pretty manageable. And yeah, that is still very nice damage from Zidane, given that I don't have his ultimate weapon. I was expecting Zidane's damage to fall off a bit, and that does not seem to have happened, even a little bit. Probably in no small part because of all the Slayer abilities. Okay, time to prep. There are a lot of abilities I need to have equipped and ready for the next few fights. This is really the biggest set of required, or practically required, abilities in the game. Other than auto regen, which is always mandatory, I also need a lot of status immunity. Okay, let's see what Kuja is going to bring to the table. A flare opening, not too bad. Can't help but notice my damage is lower than I would want. How does Flare Star? Okay, not bad. In retrospect, I wonder if Vivi was a bad choice for my final party. Not having access to Flare is really proving to impede his damage. Where do you get Flare? I never went to Daggereo. Well, that's a me being stupid thing for you. Oh well, it is way too late now. Back to the fight, and Kuja is not really proving to be an issue. Flare Star does deal a lot of damage, especially with how fast he casts it, and double casting Thundaga into Reflect is also not a great strategic decision. But auto regen heals a lot, Aiko can heal even more when needed, and Kuja really doesn't have that much damage going for him. Kuja can cast Curaga on himself? Oh, good thing the amount cured is so low. That's not even half the damage Zidane deals with every attack. Kuja does attack a lot faster than I would have expected. Are his attacks actually counters? That would explain things. He could also just be really fast. Anyway, that's the fight done, and then in comes everyone's favorite Diabolus Ex Machina in the form of the final boss. Necron has a lot of different status effects it can inflict, it has very high defenses, and attacks very, very quickly. Suffice to say, this fight kinda sucks. I don't really have any defense of the mechanics of this fight. It just isn't fun at all. It may be my least favorite final boss in a Final Fantasy game, and that's saying something. The good news, insofar as there is good news, is that the boss doesn't actually have that much HP, and the game autosaves right before the fight, which means that I can kinda just try this fight over and over again and just hope I get lucky. The boss just acts too quickly to do anything else. In a casual playthrough, endgame equipment would be able to tilt those possibilities in my favor, through high defenses and better damage, but here it's basically just try it over and over again, and there isn't really anything interesting to talk about. So instead, we'll just play some attempts in the background on heavy fast forward. Admittedly, this likely would have been easier if I remembered Daggereo existed. I could have sworn I flew over there when I got the airship. Maybe the synthesis shop wasn't open yet? Or I forgot where it was. Silly me. And there we go. Necron is dead, and it actually only took 4 attempts. Honestly, not as bad as I expected. And that was Final Fantasy IX, beaten with only shopping. And that was inexperience. Much as I love F9 in theory, it seems to always leave a bad taste in my mouth. And I'm not convinced shopping only has done anything to change that. Not when I had to track so many enemy drops to sell. But I will have more to say about that in a summary video, out next week. I did want to shout out that I do have a Patreon, linked in the description. I spend a lot of time making these videos. So if you enjoyed the video, want to support the channel, and are financially stable enough to do so, that exists. No pressure though, this channel is free to enjoy for everyone, and will remain that way. For now, if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you'd like to see more of this, feel free to subscribe. hey, maybe leave a comment if you have something you'd like to say. But whatever you decide to do, have a safe trip home.